Hey, what's going on, people? How we doing? Wanted to put some thoughts out there. I am going to treat this as if we are sitting at my dining room table. I have had many talks about politics, faith, you know, skin color, race, all that stuff at my dining room table, and I love that. I feel like that is over some food and a nice glass of kombucha, and so for me, this is how I'm going to treat this, and I'll just kind of share some thoughts. Again, for me, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings. As many of you know, I worked for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for multiple years, 6 years, and I worked with a lot of students. And one of the things that I constantly shared with them was, as you share your story, it's your story. You need to be completely vulnerable in the midst of sharing your story, but that's all you can do. And you don't know who it'll impact. You don't know who it'll help. It may hit no one, and that's not up to you. It's your responsibility just to share your story. And so that's what I'm going to do. For me, this last, let's call it 6 months, has just been a lot. My grandpa passed back in January, and so that was really hard. This is going to be my first birthday. I share a birthday with my grandpa, my cousin Teddy, and so this will be my first birthday without him. So that'll bring back a lot of emotions here in a couple of days, but that's neither here nor there. Then the coronavirus, obviously, everyone has their opinion on that, and that's fine. No one's judging you on your opinion. You just do you. But my cousin obviously passed away from it, so that was very difficult to, again, deal with that, right? Not being able to go back home and all those things in the midst of the coronavirus. So that was a lot. And then work wise, got my Series 7 and Series 66 over the last couple of months, which was great to pass those tests and get that behind me. But that was just a lot of pressure and things going on. And then lastly, with just the last couple of situations with people passing away, it's just been a lot. Emotionally, it's been all over the place, been a mixed bag. I'm going to share with you guys a little bit, just kind of what the stories that have come out recently have triggered in me with some of the different people. I'll share them later. I'll share with you a story about my grandpa and his a story he told me about him in the military, which was very interesting to me. And then lastly, I'm just share something to my Christian brothers and sisters about just something I think we would be comfortable and helpful for us moving forward. So I'm just gonna start with my story here and just kind of some of the things that triggered. If you got a text message from me and you asked me how I was doing and you reached out to me, thank you. I'm so grateful for that. Some of you I responded to. Some of you I did not get a chance to respond to. Some of you called me. I'll try to call you back. It all depends on when you catch me that time of the day, if I'm in a mood to be able to open up and talk and share. So this is me with a good moment in between some tears here and some grieving that I can share with you guys. So jumping into it. So I'm going to start with four things that really triggered this last month. The first being Ahmaud Arbery. And so for me, I have anxiety in my neighborhood. I am one of maybe five black people that I know that live in my neighborhood here in Rancho Mission Viejo, and black men, right? There's other people here, but that I know personally. And so for me, I have absolute anxiety going for runs in my neighborhood because of the way that I look and because I have been judged multiple times in my life for my skin, and I can't change that. And I don't want some old person, white lady, right, white man, whatever, some anybody calling the cops on me because they see a black man running through the neighborhood. Want no part of that. Also had a donor in the past, shout out Dane Shackelford. He gave me a very nice bike. So it is a really, really nice bike. It's like one of 100. And yes, I don't wear a helmet when I ride my bike. I'm an idiot. I should. That's on me. But when I ride my bike, I also don't have those clip-ins, but it's a really nice road bike. I don't have a receipt from Dane saying that this bike belongs to me. So me riding my bike through my neighborhood, I don't want somebody calling and saying, I see a black man riding his bike through the neighborhood. You should check it out. And then me having to explain to someone and hoping that they believe that this bike belongs to me. I want no part of that. So I only ride my bike when I'm with my daughters or with my wife, and I that's just something I've dealt with for years. So seeing a black man running through a neighborhood and then being killed for being a black man running through the neighborhood, all sorts of emotions that I was not ready for. and that triggered that. Then you jump into Breonna Taylor, and so we obviously have three little black girls. And yes, my wife is white. Yes, we absolutely talk to them about how they are half white, half black. They understand what it is to be mixed. They understand all of the nuances that come with that, because at the age of 4, Riley goes, "Hey, mommy, I'm black like daddy, and you're white like Selah." And she recognized these things and she's processing these things. So we had to have discussions about race from a very early age. So those of you who have children, these are things that come up, and it's healthy to have these conversations with your kids. But when Jenna goes to the beach and I'm not there, and this a situation that happened with her, she was sitting on the beach and this lady goes, "Oh my God, these girls are so cute. I love their hair. This is awesome. Where did you get them from?" And so my wife, being who she is, goes, "Oh, from me." And I don't get what you're talking about. She's like, "No, no, where'd you get them from?" So Jenna, being polite again, goes, "Well, they're mine." And the lady finally just goes, "I understand that they're yours, but where did you get them from?" So then my wife, being who she is, just straight up about it, she goes, "I don't know how else to say this. They came out of my vagina." Again, shocked the lady, and she goes, "Oh, they belong to you. You probably have a black husband." She's like, "Yes." So, and she's been asked if she was the nanny multiple times for our kids when she's out. And so the world sees our girls as black. And so a black girl killed in her bed for a no-knock warrant, that just brought back all sorts of emotions, and it was just very, very difficult for me. And so she had a birthday yesterday. She should have been 27, Breonna Taylor. Look up her story if you haven't heard about it, but that was very difficult. Amy Cooper, there's so much there, but the fact that, just look it up if you haven't seen it, the video, it's rough, but the fact that she chose, and oddly enough it was in Central Park, to weaponize this man's blackness and say, "I'm going to tell the police that there's an African American man threatening me." But then when she said it to them, they didn't respond the way that she expected them to, saying that a white lady calling and saying the African man was threatening her. She then proceeded to go full Meryl Streep and win an Academy Award for it in the wrong way. But nonetheless, she did it. And like Viola Davis, like crying snot and that whole deal was what it sounded like. And so that just was tough for me, especially literally the next day I'm in the park across the street from my house. The parks are not open. And for whatever reason, people feel empowered to just rip down caution tape because that's the thing. And I want my kids to go play at the park. But I also know I'm a 6'4" black guy, now with a beard, shout out to my beard, that is standing in the park. And this woman, I want to say something to her, but she's angry and she's walking through the park just ripping down all the tape. And I'm like, me saying something to her will be a full Amy Cooper situation. And I ran home and it was just overwhelming. And I was just standing there in the park walking around because I needed to get outside and get some fresh air and go for a walk. But either way, that was just very, very difficult for me. And that was a situation that happened very, very recently. And then the last thing is the George Floyd thing. Watching for 8 minutes and 46 seconds a man's life being taken out of him crying out for his dead mother. Just, you guys, those who have seen the video, you understand it. It's difficult. It is tough. It's horrible, right? And it is one of those moments of, it just hurts because that could have been my dad. That could have been me. That could have been my brother, right? I've been pulled over before and being told, "You and your car don't look like you belong in this neighborhood." I've been talking to my little brother before, and he's been pulled over and bothered about just things that are just dumb, that are just a lot, right? And it's just one of those moments of, every time I get into my car, I have anxiety. Every time I get in my car, I go through my process of making sure that my license, registration, and my proof of insurance are in a little baggie that I can easily grab and just throw in the dashboard. And I think about this. And Jenna and I got into a fight a couple months ago, and I was driving home and I was staying late at work, and unfortunately I do that far too often, but I was coming home, leaving the parking lot. This lady very nicely goes, "Hey, sir, your taillight's broken, or your taillight's out." And I'm like, "Thank you so much, ma'am, appreciate it." Roll the window up, and I had a full panic attack. And I sat there and I searched for the nearest car parts store, and it was late, and Jenna was like making dinner, and she's like, "Where are you? Get home. Where are you? Get home." And I'm like, "I'm on my way. I promise I'll be there as soon as possible." So I pull over to the first car parts store, and I don't know how to change a taillight. Shout out to my guy Paul for helping me and me answer my phone call to help me figure out how to change my taillight and YouTube. I'm at the store and I'm trying to find the right tail light. One, being super cheap and trying to make sure I get the cheapest one for my car, but whatever. Um, I'm trying to figure out how to change this tail light. And now Jenna's calling me like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And I lost it on her. And it was not okay. I was like, do not talk to me right now. I don't want to talk to you. I cannot handle this. Leave me alone. I don't care about dinner. I hang up the phone. And it was not okay for me to have that conversation with my wife in that way. And so I get in the car, I have time to decompress, and I get home, and she's like, "What was that? Like, what? That was not okay. Like, you don't talk to me like that." And we were just very honest with each other. And I just go, when I was in the parking lot leaving home, and yes, it was later, for someone to tell me my taillight was out, all I thought about was a broken taillight means that yes, you want me home for dinner, and I want to be home for dinner. A broken taillight means that I'm going to get pulled over, and then me getting pulled over, it can end the way that it did for Philando Castile in Minnesota, with me not making it home, period. So I'm not worried about dinner in that moment. I'm worried about getting my taillight fixed so that I can make sure I make it home to you and the girls. That, to me, making it home to you and the girls, period, and being able to eat food ever again trumped the fact of me just rushing home and hoping that my broken taillight won't get me pulled over. So those are the things that go through my head, and I have to process through all of these different things that are going on. And so that's kind of the emotions that I've been going through with anxiety and stuff, and grieving these last couple of weeks. Switching gears to Colin Kaepernick and kneeling and the flag. Everyone has their opinions on that. Everyone had their opinions 4 years ago, and everyone's very set in those opinions, and that's fine, right? And I hope that the conversations that are happening now, especially with the Drew Brees situation, has opened some people's eyes to that. But I just want to share my own personal story with that, and I didn't share this in the past. Again, unless you were sitting at my living room table with me drinking my homemade kombucha. Phenomenal. Love my wife. So anyway, I called my grandpa when I was a junior in college, and I was doing this project for one of my classes, and he was in the Army, so I wanted to talk. My mom told me he was one of the most interesting men she'd ever met. I was like, okay, sure, let me talk to him. I shared part of this story at his funeral, which everyone made fun of me for, because it's a little aggressive, but my grandpa, he was playing this game. I'll just call it chicken. I can't remember what he called the game, but you have a knife, and you're throwing it at a guy's foot and hoping that he flinches, right? Or he moves, and if he doesn't move, then, or you get super close, you win. Well, my grandpa threw the knife in the guy's foot. So he's an idiot. It's awesome. And he got sent to Alaska to do cold weather training. So my grandpa's in Alaska doing cold weather training, and he's leading their baton troop. I'm sorry, I don't know what you call it. It's embarrassing, but whatever. So he's leading their group, and then he missed the birth of my uncle Glenn, so his oldest child. So he missed the birth of his oldest child because he was in Alaska. So he hops on a plane, one of the military planes, to come back to the East Coast. And he is like, he's high ranking in their group, right? And there's a lot of newer guys. He's been there for a couple of years at this point. And so he gets on the plane to come back, and he just sits down on the plane. And this guy that had been in there for maybe, a month or so, just walks up to him and goes, I need you to move. And he's like, look, I don't need to talk to you right now. I'm tired. I just want to go to sleep. Like, just go to the back of the plane. Or go to find another seat. That's what he said. Go to find another seat. And the guy looks at my grandpa and goes, get your nigger ass to the back of the plane. Get out of my seat. Move. And so my grandpa in this moment is like, I was just outside telling you what to do, and now you're talking to me like this. So he looks at, there was the highest ranking guy was on the plane, and he just looks at me and goes, can you please put him in his place? And he just looks at my grandpa and he goes, listen here, nigger, I need you to get to the back of the plane, know your role, and get out of his damn seat. And so my grandpa has to get up and go to the back of the plane. And so when we talk about what the flag means to people, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Okay? And I remember when the Colin Kaepernick thing happened, rather than opening my mouth and saying anything about it, I called my grandpa. And I was like, Grandpa, what does this mean to you? Like, what do you feel when you see all of this going on? And he goes, I love that guy's message. I wish that people wouldn't make it about the flag, because he goes, that flag to me a lot of times brings a lot of pain. And my grandpa loved this country. He served this country. And when people go somewhere else, right? Like, listen, if I'm picking a time at any time in the history of the world to be a black man, I'm picking right now. Okay. And I love where we live. I love the country we live in, but you cannot tell me that flag doesn't mean pain to a lot of people. We respect it. We understand it, but it means a pain to a lot of people. And so don't lose sight of the message that people are trying to bring up and saying that people that have skin that look like me are being oppressed by pivoting to mean something else for the flag. Tony Dungy has a phenomenal little clip on YouTube from ESPN the other day where he's talking about that. So go check that out. It's great. But that's something that is very painful. It's a story that really hurt me when I heard it, but it's our story, right? And then the last thing I'm going to share, this is for my Christian brothers and sisters. And so if you don't believe in Jesus, I pray that in this time that you can find him, you can know him, you can love him, and you can have hope in something bigger than yourself. And for me, that's Jesus 100%. That has helped me grieve through this time. That has helped me reading through scriptures and understanding biblical grievance. You go through the Psalms, you talk about lamenting there. There's so much beauty there in that. And if you don't believe in Jesus, then that's fine, but you still need to hear what I have to say here in this moment. Orange County friends, Christian friends, black, white, Asian, everybody, we need to do a better job of empathizing with one another. Okay? And so when people ask, like, oh, what is something we can do? If you are a pastor, something you can do that would be so helpful to your congregation here and now, right? That would be so helpful for the people in your congregation, and based off of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, especially for the pastors here in Orange County. And I know a lot of you, and I know a lot of people in your congregation because I have experienced a lot of you through FCA, and I'm grateful for that. And I love all of you. But a sermon series on biblical empathy would be so huge right now. Do not make this make it about you when someone says something. Don't make it about you. If someone says that they're hurting, do not all of a sudden tell them that their feelings are wrong. I cannot, when my wife tells me this is how I feel, I can't look at her in the face and go, Jenna, that's dumb. You shouldn't feel that way. That never ends well. It just causes a fight, and I always end up losing. Now, you may feel like you're in a position where you won't lose because you're white and you feel in a position of power. That's fine, or whatever it is, or black people, whoever in this moment. Biblical empathy. I'm going to share a couple of scriptures with you guys. 1 Peter 3:8, Romans 12:15, John 11:35, Hebrews 4:15. Go read those verses. Understand what those verses mean and really, really look into those verses. Right? And I'm going to have other videos that I put out when it gets to discussing things like Black Lives Matter and politics and all those other things. But right now, here in this moment, you need to understand biblical empathy. You need to not make this about you. And I'm going to say this again. Don't make this about you. If someone says they are hurting, hurt with them. One of the examples is the verse of Jesus wept. Shortest verse in the Bible, but Jesus wept. He wept over because of the pain that people felt over Lazarus. Now, he was going there in that moment, and he was going to use that opportunity, obviously, to bring Lazarus back to life. He knew that. And he could have sat there and said to them, what's wrong with you? Do you know who I am? How dumb are you people to think that I can't bring Lazarus back from the dead? No, he wept. He empathized. Learn to empathize with people right here in this moment. That's the one action step that I think above all else that you can do is just learn to empathize. Yes, I'm passionate about that because some of your guys' words are hurtful. Words hurt. When you try to pretend that someone's pain is not real, that's not okay. Okay? Especially as a Christian man and woman. Empathize with them. Don't try to make this about you. Okay? If you don't understand, say you don't understand. Ask somebody that doesn't look like you their story. Ask them about themselves. Go and call them and say, hey, I'm not going to pretend to understand what's going on, but I would love it for you not to tell me how to fix this all. Just tell me your story and listen. Period. And if they're not ready to tell their story, they're not ready to tell their story. They're not ready to listen or they're talk about it, that's fine. But when they are, listen. Period. Don't fix it. Don't have trigger words like if somebody says white or whatever it is, like, or somebody, says all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, like all of these things. Don't all of a sudden try to figure out a way to override what they're saying. Just listen. Period. Okay? That's all you can do. We talk about the cross. It is a vertical thing with the up part of the cross, the vertical relationship with Jesus Christ, Lord, right? And understanding that and God and the Holy Spirit. That's a vertical thing. The horizontal thing is loving your neighbor as yourself. You don't have a cross if you don't love your neighbor as yourself. Empathize, please. Couple action steps. I'm going to wrap this up because my family's watching High School Musical 3 without me and I'm missing out. Go follow Alicia Lamberson on Instagram. Okay. I'm going to put her in the video at Leith, Leath 14. She has done a phenomenal job of just sharing information. Go educate yourself. Follow her. Again, watch the videos that she shares on her Instagram story. She has a 30-minute video that you need to go watch. Yes, it's 30 minutes. Yes, it's a lot. Go watch it. It's unbelievable. Riddled with scripture, and it is just so life-giving. Phenomenal. Please go watch that. And then, again, as you listen to it, or anything I say or anything anybody says, don't get all up in your feelings. Just listen. Just listen. Y'all, there will be so many other things that I have, so many other things that are going on. Yes, it's now 21 minutes, but whatever. I had to get this out. You can watch it if you want to watch it, but this is for you, great. If it's not for you, I just had to share some of my story because there's so many things that I'm grieving through and working through, and this is a part of my process. Also, another person to go follow, Jovi Nation. I'll also tag him below. He's done a phenomenal job of just sharing information about just everything. That dude's solid right now. So those two people. Oh, and Cameron Alexander Friend. So many different people, but Cameron Alexander Friend, I'll tag those three down below as people to follow to be able, they're sharing resources from a bunch of different people to kind of help. So love y'all, praying for y'all, grateful for those of you who reached out. It meant the world to me. It helped me to know that I'm loved in this moment. And don't feel like that's me saying, hey, reach out to me, please. Oh my God. I'm just saying, if you did, thank you. I'll get back to you at some point if I have not yet. Love y'all. Have a blessed day.